Welcome everyone to Virtual Link Up Volume 2. We are the Ndfd. A few weeks ago, we had our Virtual Link Up Volume 1, where we had the participants of the Green Innovations Summit. Today, or tonight, we will have our Virtual Link Up Volume 2, and we will have guests coming from the Ndfd itself. But before that, we would like to, of course, acknowledge that, we are still in this pandemic and we live in uncertain times. So on behalf of the Ndfd, I would like to first send our thoughts and prayers to all those who are healing and suffering. And also, we would like to send our condolences and sympathies to those who lost loved ones because of this pandemic. So tonight, as mentioned, we will have guests from the Ndfd itself. My name is Donald Burkashe. I'm the Business and Entrepreneurial Development Manager of the Ndfd. And tonight, we are joined by men and women from the National Development Foundation of Dominica. And this is Virtual Link Up Volume 2, Ndfd and you. So, while we are in this pandemic, there are so many questions that need answers. Our main focus, especially the small business owners, they have questions that, they are seeking answers for. And tonight we will try to give them or offer them some answers. And we're basically answering the question, how do we develop in uncertain times? Tonight we are joined by, first, let me welcome the Support Services Supervisor, Naomi Romaine Seja. We also have Business Development Officers, Ms. Juanita Casey, Mr. George Challenger, and of course, our Executive Director, Titus Joseph. How are you guys?
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody.
All right. So let's jump right into the first question, right? So for the sake of those who don't know you yet, although unlikely that there are, many of them out there, can you please introduce yourselves, in a few words? Maybe we can start with the ladies. Let's start with Mrs. Naomi Romaine Seja.
Thank you, Mr. Bucasio, and pleasant evening to all our viewers. I am Mrs. Romaine Seja, Naomi Romaine Seja, and as Mr. Bucasio said, I'm the Support Service Unit Supervisor, and I also have roles as it relates to business development, that is loan underwriting and providing guidance and support to all our small business persons out there. So it's a pleasure to be on this panel this evening and looking forward to an awesome session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Juanita Casey.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Juanita Casey. I'm a Business and Entrepreneurial Development Officer. So basically, I underwrite loans to small businesses.
Now let's move to our gentlemen. Let's start with Mr. George Challenger.
Good evening, everybody. My name is George Challenger. As they said, I'm a Business Development Entrepreneurial Development Officer. I basically bring underwriting of loans, more so specific in the agricultural sector, which deals with farmers and agricultural cultivation of crops, etc., etc. Good evening, everyone.
And of course, our Executive Director, Mr. Titus Joseph.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Well, you said the name already, Titus Joseph, and I'm the Executive Director of the Ndfd. Essentially, in charge of the overall day-to-day management of the organization. That's in a nutshell what it is, ensure that the organization operates smoothly and as much as possible delivers on its promise and its mandate to its clients ensuring that the decisions of the board are executed and executed well, and to report to them as well as to the progress of these initiatives that we undertake and we embark on from time and time again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Now let's have the first question right away, because we don't really have that much time. So let me ask the first question to all of you. So since we are saying that we want to answer the question, how do we develop in this uncertain times? Let me ask each one of you, in a few words, how do you define development? So maybe earlier we started with the ladies. We can probably start now with the gentlemen. So maybe if we can have Mr. Challenger.
Right, thank you, Mr. Bucasio. Basically, the dictionary or the internet will give the definition as the process in which someone or something grows or changes and becomes more advanced. That's basically what the definition of development.
Okay. Mr. Joseph, in a few words, what is development for you?
Well, yeah, there can be the different aspects of development towards something that's not very favorable. But at Ndfd, we would like to focus on the more favorable aspects. And as Mr. Challenger used one of the definitions from one of the dictionaries, the process of growth and improvement in the state of being at the time. From Ndfd's perspective, there are different areas that you need to measure the development thereof. I think we could go through that in a little bit further detail as we move along in the discussion. But in a nutshell, we would be looking at growth in a positive manner in different areas that are critical to us. Maybe we could call maybe key performance indicators, see how well they grow, the rates at which they grow, and those types of parameters.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Joseph. Let's have Ms. Casey.
Okay, well, through the years, there have been many definitions of the term development. However, it is seen as the process of regular and positive change in each and every sector in the country. Some people consider it economic growth, but that's not always the case, since we cannot always interpret economic growth as development of the country. So growth in a positive way.
Okay, well said. What about you, Mrs. Seja? What is development for you?
All right, so development for me as well is growth, right? Progression from one stage to another in a positive direction. So for me, it would also include the accomplishment of goals or the realization of goals and objectives, whether personal, business-wise, nationally. That's what development is for me. Thanks.
Okay. So just quickly, I just want to do a follow-up. Like for a small business owner, right? If you were a small business owner, what would development be for you? Let's start with Mrs. Seja.
All right, so as a small business person, development for me would be an expansion of my market share. So that's my customer base, being able to serve more clients, to have more repeat clients. That's growth for me. For me, it would also be an increase in my revenue streams,
okay.
An increase in my income. That would be for me as well.
Right.
But there are several others, so I'll give the others a chance to share.
What about you, Ms. Casey? If you were a small business person, what would development be for you? You're muted, Ms. Casey.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to, well, for me, to strengthen my relationship with my customers. So I'd find ways to add better value to my products and services, stay in touch, whether it's by phone, emails, or personal visit, to keep my brand up to date. That's for me.
Right. Mr. Challenger?
Yes, let me something I want to maybe just go away from what they're basically saying, is that a lot of persons that get involved in business is basically for financial wealth. to become profitable and to become sustainable. Sustainable in the sense that if you develop your business or your business to the point, the most successful way of developing your business, or you should develop it, is that you are able to pay all your bills and be able to save and be able to gain wealth from it, to develop your savings, to have enough that you can meet all your expenses. That is the ways of developing.
All right. What about you, Mr. J? You know, coming from a point of view of a small business person, what do you think would be developing?
Well, that can be measured in a number of ways. Some of them have been measured already. Development in terms of growth in revenues, growth in your client base, growth in your profitability, growth in your market, growth in the number of and quality of products that you offer to the market, to the clients. These are all critical areas of growth that you have to monitor. And in the end, they are all linked towards the sustainability of your business. So growth in itself can contribute towards business sustainability. How it is that you reposition your organization as well with respect to those critical areas that you want to measure. So there are quite a few but related areas of growth that you as a small business person would have to consider in order that you can sustainably maintain and operate a small business.
Very well said. So what I really got from, you know, what you all said is that development cannot really be defined like with, you know, by a single definition, you know. So there are really different ways of defining development. But I think what is common in what you all said is the idea of it being positive, you know, like something that contributes to, you know, the positive of a business or of a person, that kind of thing, you know. So yeah, so that, thank you very much for that. Now, my next question is, since, you know, we just said earlier that we are still in the pandemic, you know, currently right now we are, you know, we are just in our own offices. That's why we are not, you know, wearing our masks. But here at the Ndfd, we have been following strict, you know, health protocols. We are wearing our masks, you know, the entire day, even our face shields, you know. But then, you know, this pandemic has really affected all of us, well, especially, of course, our clientele, the small business owners. So I would like to ask, how would you assess, you know, this pandemic, you know? So I want to get the point of view of you as an Ndfd staff or manager, and then from the point of view of, you know, the small business person whom we are serving. Anyone can probably start.
All right, I could just maybe start, because if you allow me to start.
Of course.
One of the most negative impact that the pandemic caused, especially in Dominica, I mean, across the world, it happened in a lot of cases, but specifically in Dominica, loss of revenue. A lot of clients were forced to shut down their business. I mean, the country shut down for about 2 weeks, complete shutdown. Businesses were forced not to open or forced to keep their doors closed. So that impact was seriously negative, because they still remain with the same expenses. Persons operating with rented areas and so on still had to pay their rent. So the COVID on just a nutshell would be that it just what can I say, harm most of our business negatively in terms of their revenue.
All right. But so as an Ndfd business and entrepreneurial development officer, so what can you say about this pandemic? How can you assess this?
As an officer,
Yes.
On the other side of the table, right?
Yes.
You see a lot of business owners, or let's say we could go to farmers, a lot of them still had a market share. But what happened is that being that there was a reduce in economical activities in the country, that they were forced to sell less of the produce. So a lot of, as for and every part of it, The part that we play is basically allow clients to basically refinance their business. So we provide a nice refinancing. We could provide them with grace as well to allow them to build back that sort of revenue for their business.
Thank you for that. Ms. Casey?
Well, the ongoing pandemic has altered our lives every day. You hear me?
Yes, yes, we are
Okay,
hearing you
okay.
loud and clear.
Okay, so it has altered our lives negatively. And as a business officer, this pandemic has shown, a significant decrease in revenues. The rising unemployment, disruption in different services and the products, even the closure of some businesses. For the small business owners, they are the ones that are suffering tremendously since they were imposed with certain protocols and restrictions. With all that too, it also made small business owners seek to a different direction, because we have seen restaurants go from dining to only takeouts. The gyms were closed and some of them decided to do their classes online virtually, and the digital products that we have, they were doing for online platform. So, yeah.
Mrs. Seja?
All right, and so as an NDFD staff member, this pandemic to me is an opportunity for creativity and flexibility. This world that we live in is forever changing, and to remain relevant, we must be flexible. As it relates to the challenges that we are facing now, with the pandemic, social distancing, increased awareness of our hygienic behaviors and servicing, still trying to service our clients to the best of our ability. I believe this is forcing us to develop faster, which is beneficial to us and our clients, right? From the small business person's perspective, I see it as a very, very challenging time for them, especially considering the various natures of their business. Businesses who are essential services, they were able to sustain themselves because they still had revenue coming in, because there was a constant demand and they could meet that demand. But those who were not able to operate, and we're talking about our hairdressers, our clothing store managers, our nail technicians, these services that are not really deemed as necessities, they are really feeling the effects of this pandemic. After having been closed for a period of time without any source of income and a pile up of bills, you have your business bills, your personal bills. Then to resume operations with a reduction in spending power of the citizens, that's a very challenging period. So not just for us as an establishment, but also for our small business clients. It's a very difficult time, but it forces us to be creative and flexible.
Thank you for that. What about you, Mr. J? I know I'm very curious because you are on a different level. So basically, I reckon that your point of view would be a little bit different from our officers here. So being the executive director of the NDFD, how would you assess this ongoing pandemic?
All right. Yeah, a bit different, but it must embrace all of the opinions and viewpoints that have been expressed previously. And if I were to start from where Mrs. Romin Seja ended, it does provide a real challenge for our small business sector, because you have the businesses have had to shut mandatorily, as Mr. Challenger said, and they come up with, or they remain with, those operational costs, which don't go away because you have shut your business doors for a few days. The electricity bills remain, the water bills remain, the other aspects of your overheads, they remain there, and you have not been, some of them have rented space, which in some instances is a major cost factor, major expense of the business. Now, how does the small business owner maneuver through that and to ensure that you remain in business. Essentially, you remain relevant to your clients. These are critical questions that must be asked. And it therefore begs the question, and it has been echoed around as to, yes, we were forced to mandatorily shut. We had to do it. That was the law. But what do we do as well from a governance level to ensure that these businesses remain with their doors open, they continue to generate revenue for the business owners, they remain in business, they continue to employ persons, and whether they employ one person or 200 persons, it adds up. You know, the cumulative effect of small businesses is tremendous, and this is something that we cannot underestimate. And even if it is one person who employs themselves in their business, it still takes a burden off, let's say, the state to having to provide welfare for these persons. These persons have families, so you start to look at the extended effects of those types of things. So this is critical. Now, what is it that Ndfd can do? I think we'll get to that at some point, but there have been mention of it, the refinancing, the grace moratorium periods. But we also have to take it, and if we take the term development again into what we are saying, COVID has been extraordinary, I will admit, but as a country, we have been faced with many challenges before, and I look at COVID as one of those other challenges, albeit it's on a global level, and that makes it unique in itself, because traditionally we're used to being ravaged and damaged and battered and destroyed by natural forces, hurricanes especially. And coming to mind will be Maria of 2017. That's just 4 years ago. And COVID emerging in 2020, essentially at the beginning of 2020, end of 2019, was something that we did not really anticipate. And we were just beginning to get over that hurdle of all of that damage and destruction, unprecedented by Maria, and to be faced again with that other unprecedented challenge of COVID in a form that we did not even imagine. And to the extent that we did not imagine, where the international community would normally come and say, look, yeah, we can give you $100 million, even if in the end we end up with 25 million. But right now they are not really in a position to do that because every country is battling with it. So this is a challenge in itself. But as per other events, like Maria, COVID will indeed present opportunities to the small businesses. And that is where we need to believe in our ability to survive and strive and foster development in what it is that we do. And we have to create the enabling environment, albeit on whatever level we can as a small entity, but to ensure that we empower those small business owners to transform where they have to transform, to change the business model, to adapt, to spot the opportunities that are in there. And we are ready as Ndfd to do that. But the small business owners themselves have to be ready in their minds to say, look, yes, it's a challenge, but we can overcome it, and we can use it as an opportunity to develop, to grow, to move from where we are. And sometimes we may need that sort of impetus or catalyst by some shock like COVID, like Maria, to grow and develop in the manner that we maybe didn't anticipate, but it may be the best thing at the time that we have to do. We have to look beyond the immediate, look within and see what it is that we can do to ensure that we grow and develop from there on. I could go on for a long time, but let me just stop at that point.
But Mr. Bakassi, before you move on, let me just one of the points that Mr. Joseph made, which really catch my attention, was that as a country, we in Dominica, we need to come together as a country. We're talking about the landlords, we're talking about the banks, we're talking about the the business owners and them. Because if the landlord waive the rent for the business owner will sort of, have more cash available for them to operate. And if the banks waive the loan payments for the landlords, then it will be easier for them. So we all have to come together to make it work.
Together, yeah. Actually, I was about to. Well, I have a follow-up question for Mr. J, but I also have a question for you. But let me just first ask Mr. J. You mentioned about Maria and this COVID pandemic. So let me ask you, which is worse as a challenge, Maria or this pandemic?
I certainly don't like that you asked me that question, but worst in what way is what we are. I think Maria was that brutal force, all right? Kind of.
So the aftermath, like the effect.
Right. Yeah. So Maria came, it struck, right? It destroyed, how much you say, like 225% of our GDP. And we didn't recover 225%. Maybe we had started recovering, maybe about 50% of that 225 or less. But we had started recovering. And after Maria, we had the opportunity to say, look, we take 3 months off in 2017. And by January of 2018, we kind of, okay, it's, let's bounce back, let us rebuild. Even if we did rebuild in some of the same areas and in the same ways that we did before, which were not advised, but at least you could see a little progress being done. And as I said, you had the international community that came to your aid, to your rescue. You had helicopters were in Dominica like a day, 2 days after beginning to drop aid, and everybody really thinking, because the shock, the impact was boom, hit and run.
Yes,
all right.
That's it.
And then
what about this pandemic?
Breathing space. Now this pandemic, it's been ongoing for a year and 6 months. No, a year and 8 months now, 9 months. That we had our first shutdown in, I think, March, maybe about March of 2020, and we are into September of 2021. And for a period, we thought that we were maybe over it as a country, but look what happened. Just a little let down of your guard, and this thing is there to give you another knockout punch. So, which is worse? Maybe in terms of the brutality, you could say Maria was extremely bad. Yep. But in terms of how prolonged this thing is, and we don't know, nobody knows as to when this thing is going to give us a break. When we are being able to, as we just said, we are sitting in our offices now because we are in our own private space, but this is not very far from any one of us, neither is this, so when are we going to get back to the times when we put these things aside? Nobody knows. It continues. And as I said earlier, it's not that any other country is in a position to really help you with that. They all have their own challenges. But what I think, and I hope that if it goes out there, that somebody is listening, that we need to have a national dialogue on this thing, because there is no way that anyone individual, and I don't care who you are, would believe that you have the answer to this thing. It doesn't. There is no one institution or company or expert who has the answer to this. And we have to sit as a country and bring different parties together, the vaxxers, the anti-vaxxers, the persons who believe in capitalism or socialism or whatever. And we have to come and sit down and thrash this thing out and come up with a national strategy that is going to help us use this thing to develop something that will help our country on a whole, and at the same time bring up those of us who are lagging down there in this thing, because this is not easy. This is a thing where persons have been driven further into poverty because they cannot earn and they cannot feed their families as they would like. They cannot educate their children. Look at this. We are into September, and I am not sure where we are on school. There was a small school child in my office this morning, and then she had to be on a tablet doing things. And even on the tablet, the attention span is so short. Every 5 minutes, she had to take a break. And this is something that my recommendation is that we need to have some adults coming up there at national level, at policy level, and say, look, people, you and all of us, Let us sit down. We have differences, but our differences does not mean that we are enemies to each other and we are enemies to the state. We have to get to that conversation and decide how are we going to deal with this thing. This is serious.
There you go. So a call has just been made. So let me just go back to you very quickly, Mr. Challenger, right? So because you mentioned about farmers, now I'm very curious because I know we've also been helping the fishers or the fisher folks. So how are they affected by this pandemic? I know you've been also working closely with them.
Well, I mean the fisher folks mainly. And with the shutdown, the fisher folks were forced not to fish, not to go out at sea. So that definitely impacted on them because they were not allowed to go out at sea at all with the full shutdown. But gradually you've seen, a lot of fisher folks going back out to sea. We have a few clients that came in recently, want to refinance, which is onboard motors, etc., etc. But at that point that they were affected, that the country had shut down, they couldn't gain revenue for their families and so on.
All right. So that discussion kind of gave me a little, not really a little, no, but headache, a big headache, So because I mean, we are not the thing is that we are not just discussing this, we're not just talking about this, but we are really living through, living through it, So, and I was there during during Maria and after, so I certainly can also relate to that. But let me ask you now, ladies and gentlemen, right? So given all these challenges and uncertainties, right, how can we develop? How can we grow? I think that's the biggest question that we have tonight, Is there really a chance for development in this, very uncertain times? Let me start with the ladies. Miss Casey.
Yes, Mr. Bocasio. Okay, I think we can grow by considering certain factors that will be a benefit to the business. Some of the factors we need to consider is prioritizing the expenses of your business. So you have to review and cut what you can and limit what is not essential to your business. As I said earlier, for a small business person, they need to strengthen their relationship with their existing clients, to find ways to add value to their products and services. This pandemic has shown us so much that they can consider building an online presence, website where you can market and offer products and services to your existing and potential customers. So the factors are very important for us to grow our businesses.
Right. So when you say we, I thought of Ndfd, I thought of Dominica, I thought of a small business person. Yes. So as a nation, we need to, you're right. So as a nation, we need to play our part in every way. We need to recognize and respect the protocol set since it will protect us and persons that we come into interaction with. As Mr. Joseph also mentioned, we need to think of something that would help everybody, all and sundry, nationally, because you have the small business persons who were forced to shut down, the non-essential businesses. They suffered quite a blow. So we need to figure out some way nationally to help them get over that hurdle, right? For Ndfd, and the businesses, I see it as an opportunity for growth. I believe it will trigger some creativity, right? So for Ndfd, we need to realize these challenges that our target client face and develop ways we can assist them to overcome these challenges. And I don't know if you mind me mentioning, but we've already started that with our upcoming promotion. We thought of ways to, help our small business persons to overcome what is before them, right? And for our small businesses, I would say it's still an opportunity to be creative. There's a saying that goes, there is no growth in your comfort zone. this pandemic has brought about discomfort to all our small business persons. So they are being challenged to grow. That's what I see it as. Challenged to think outside of the box. It's tap into their creative spirit and use this opportunity to propel their business further to a point of sustainability. I can give suggestions, but then again, it's the entrepreneur. You need to have your drive. You need to believe that you can overcome this. I mean, we have to overcome, because how else are you going to sustain yourself, your family? So you have to overcome. So you need to really tap into your creativity and look at ways that you can overcome. Miss Casey mentioned a few, and I support her on that. Look at your budgeting habits, cut down what needs to cut down, and be creative. Create new sources of income. We saw that only essential businesses were able to stay open. Think of a way of making your business an essential business. Include a new product, that's an essential product. Include a new service, that's an essential service. So that's all part of the creativity and getting out of our comfort zone, which this pandemic has really taken us off of.
Thank you for that. Mr. Challenger?
Yes, let me just echo a few points that Ms. Roman made. You know, I think when we business entrepreneur development officer, we think of basically on the same level. As a business officer, I think we need to encourage more innovation. The sums of the explanation of what she gave is that business owners need to become innovative. With this pandemic, they need to align their service by the school. If there is, like she mentioned, that the essential business are more profitable in that sense, then if you have a small business, lean towards how the essential people operate at that time. We need to do that. We encourage innovation every time a customer or client comes in our office. What is your idea? Is your idea the same thing? Why don't you do this? Why don't you think of something different? Why sell bakes and fried chicken? Why, make something else? Be creative, like women said. Another thing that I think the Ndfd need to do, we need to put on our financial consultant hat. For a brief explanation, we need to encourage persons to come up, or if they have a budget or to expound on the budget, to create a budget. The party, the drinking that you might do as a business owner, you might have to cut down on that. Cut down on a lot of things that you're doing. Go green, like Ndfd has been campaigning. Change your lighting, reduce your energy bill at your house, eat out less. There are many things. We need to start here to help persons create a budget, and having a budget is critical. We had an officer there. Yeah, we had an officer here before. I'm not sure she might be listening eventually. Mrs. Sharon Francis Vidal Francis. She always had a budget. When she get her salary, she will write down everything that she has to buy. And then if we have a budget with such pandemic there, if we have a budget, there are things that we can cut down on. There are things we can reduce in buying. There are things that we could go on a diet, stop drinking the soft drinks, stop drinking the alcohol, cut back on a few things, reduce on the consumption of other junk foods. That is just my take.
Very good. Sacrifice really is needed for us to, number one, survive, and of course, eventually for us to develop. I see Mr. Joseph there smiling, looking very proud of his business and entrepreneurial development officers. Mr. J?
He mute.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm proud, and I mean the things that you guys are saying. I mean they're real and they are implementable. But I just have a few points, and let me just start where my officer stopped. But Mr. Challenger, we need to also realize that when we take some of those measures, we are impacting some of our very own colleagues. Not to say that as a critic, but it's just a reality, and it shows how interlinked we are in what we do. But things such as converting yourself to an essential service, it's very important, that we have to, make ourselves relevant to our customers or clients. That essentially is what it is about. That you have to provide a value to your customers, to your clients, to be able to serve them and have them to patronize you, But what it's also saying is, and it boils back to the protocols that have been established, that essentially all of those sanitization, the wearing of the masks, the physical distancing. I don't like the term social distancing. Man is a social being. But the physical distancing, the sanitization, well, I wash my hands very often personally. I use my alcohol, 70% and above. The respiratory etiquette, all of those things are critical to us ensuring the wearing of the masks. And interestingly, the biggest science behind the mask is that your mask protects me and my mask protects you. So let's look at the interconnectivity. But do we have a choice but grow? Do we have a choice but develop? I don't think that we have a choice there, but we have to, what do we need in order to grow and develop are critical questions that we have to ask. And institutions, organizations like the Ndfd have to put the things in place, the requirements in place, the enabling factors in place to help these small businesses grow and develop. And one of the things Challenger just alluded to it is that we as an organization started in 2017 to go towards a green road, albeit by the time we were ready, we had submitted an application to a funding agency already that just prior to Maria, and we did that in August, and Maria struck in September. So just about a month before, and Maria struck, and then there is now all of the talk about green growth and resilience and green economy and all of those things. But we had started that process prior to all of the hype coming in, and we are proud to say that right now we have a product piloting in the market where we encourage our entrepreneurs, our households, our small and medium enterprises to begin to implement more sustainable practices in terms of their businesses. And we're looking at two aspects: mitigation and adaptation. How do we adapt to the times that we are? And we are focusing these on renewable energies and energy efficient technologies. So this is one way that clients can look at it. And some persons may say, but how? And it's just one tool, I must say. And we need to take on the more business heart and use the going concern, the concept of the going concern of businesses, that because you spend $20,000, $30,000 on a renewable energy system, this is not just an expense. This is an investment into your business that you intend to recoup over a period of 5-10 years. That will help you to, one, reduce your energy costs, increase your efficiency, and which will all help with your business. So this is one aspect of it, that a tool that we are putting in place. And we are having the consultancies on that you come, you visit us, we discuss, and we find a way forward. And the important thing about this technology is that it doesn't have to be all 100% at the same time. You can phase it in, that, okay, have again your plan. What's your, we've had trainings this week and last week, and we were talking about business continuity and crisis management and budgeting and business planning. And this can come in and you can phase these things in and think. And the fact that there is a quote that says, I think it was by George Merck, that if you are just into business for profit, you will lose sight of what it is that you are after. And he was speaking particularly about medicine. He says medicine is not for profit, but medicine is for the clients who are sick. And as long as you deliver the value, they will keep on coming. And once they keep on coming, the profits will come in. So this is a concept that we can use and build on with regard to providing the types of services to our clients, essential. And you can come again and ask, what do you consider essential services? Are we looking at the medical services that those frontline workers are providing? And the world over there are tired. and fatigued and everything else? Are you looking at financial services as essential services? Are you looking at food as essential? You know, those types of things that we need to be able to operate as we want to and as we can, and they are important. And again, I will make the call that while every institution needs to develop its own strategy, we need something nationally to really guide us and help us along the way. What are our policies saying? How enabling are our policies? Are they just regulations to just keep you in chains, or are they regulations that are designed to help you grow and develop in a positive manner? Are critical questions that we can ask and we should ask ourselves.
Okay, very good. Well said, Mr. J. So the thing is that I'm just kind of like coming from the point of view of a small business owner, right? Some of them might say that all the things that we said are easier said than done, because remember, small business owners, they don't really have so much, backup capital. For example, they don't have, basically, they have very little space to kind of maneuver, especially during this, very uncertain, very challenging time. So what could we tell them, because we tell them you have to save, you have to go green, change your appliance and everything. But right now, it's like they are experiencing this revenue not coming in. We have, for example, loans that we need to pay, so it's so hard. So what can we tell them? What can we advise them? Let's start with Ms. Casey.
Repeat for me, please. Sorry.
So because right now we just told them, that you need to do this, you have to save, you have to convert, reconsider your business model, and try to kind of, basically extend your product and services in such a way that, they become more essential. And then Mr. Challenger also mentioned about going green, basically altering your, for example, your business place, your appliances and everything. But for some business owners, these are easier said than done, because right now they are experiencing all these hardships. Maybe if Mrs. Seja, if you're able to hear my question, yeah, we will go back to Ms. Casey. But so how would you address that concern?
Well, as a financial institution, Ndfd, we're here for you, because everything that you're mentioning is going to require financial investment first and foremost. So I would say to visit us, whether if you're a client or you're not a client, to come to us, speak to us. Let's brainstorm together. Let's develop our ideas to a point where it can be implemented. Okay. And let us finance that venture for you. Let's help you revisit your business model. Come to us. We are the ones who are knowledgeable. We can provide you with the advice that you require. What we don't have, the information we don't have on hand ourselves, we have partnerships with national establishments, even internationally we have partnerships, and we can tap into those resources to provide you with the additional assistance that you need. So what you're saying, it is difficult, like you said, easier said than done. But what we would encourage them to do is try not to do it on your own. That's why we're here. So come to us. You're going to require some finance. We can put a plan together. You're going to need a documented plan as to a way forward. We can assist you with that as well. So that's how we can help.
Anyone else would like to add to that? So, Mr. J, for example, right? For example, here I am, I'm a business owner, and basically for like how many months now, I'm not really, generating any revenue, right? So what can I do? I know Mrs. Sergio already mentioned about, seeking assistance from us. But aside from that, what can a small business owner can do at this point? Mr. J, you're muted. So just very quickly.
Sorry, I was muted. I didn't realize I was.
Yeah, so very quickly before I go to Mr. Challenger.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I was saying that as a first step, you need to understand first and foremost that, look, we have an issue. We have hit a block in the middle of the road, and we have to evaluate what's the issue. We know what the issue is. That, look, there's COVID-19 coming on the heels of a devastating storm 2 years after, and we have some real issues here. So what are these issues in the form of my business, and where? Now, can everyone open? I believe most persons can, or most businesses can open now, but the other question is do they have the wherewithal to open up? Can they go back to their location, because they may be owing the landlord, who is also in need of money, and it's something that we cannot run away from. And then we can say as much as we want, okay, the landlord or lady could waive the rent, but they could also negotiate. Let's say we negotiate a package, and yeah, I allow you to operate, but okay, maybe can I not allow you a reduction in rent? Maybe that is something you need to discuss. So you need to engage your partners in that regard. Your key partners are those whom you do business with, your suppliers, your creditors, your landlord, landlady, whoever it is, other business partners who you operate with. And importantly, we cannot leave out our financiers. You need to, as a small business person, engage your financial institution. As a matter of fact, you should not be a stranger to your financial institution, and you should not be a stranger to Ndfd. And I will say that we are the friendliest business establishment on island. We are designed to meet your needs, to discuss. But another thing is that you need to be honest with yourself and your business as a small business person, that, look, I am not going to try to, can I use a word, bullshit anybody. I am going to come out straight with the fact. That's what it is. I have a debt here, I have a debt there, I have a delinquent good over there, and that's it. How can you help me? How can we work? And sometimes small business persons, because of maybe the pride, and they were doing well, and they hit a rough patch, their fault or not, and you need to face up to it and begin to find ways to deal with it. And how many people consult with an expert, or somebody who knows better than you, somebody who knows more finance than you, somebody who knows more financial management, somebody who can help you to put your accounts together. That's important. We need to see from a financial standpoint, how are we doing? How much has our revenue dropped? Did it come from 100,000 to 0,000? These are important questions that we have to ask, and how can we try to recover it? And you need to engage the Ndfd at this point with regard to helping you to recover. We have a department headed by Ms. Romain, where we can start to help you develop a plan, figure out what the issues are, how can we get out of it, and let's document it. And let's not just document it and put it on the shelf. That's not the way. You need to keep it up front, keep it open on your desk, as a matter of fact, and refer to it time and again. Am I on track? What do I have to change? And it does not mean that because you develop one plan, you have to just stick to it come hell or high water. Things change, circumstances change. Nobody saw COVID-19 coming after Maria. So this is a change that you have to make. If you were selling Bix and Accra, and now people tell you is stone and water they want, well, give them the stone and water. That's what they want. That's what the client want. You give them the value that they want for their money. But you have to be able to position yourself in that way to deliver the value that the clients and the customers need. So it's all in that. But usually you cannot do it alone, and that's it. And even just bringing somebody else who brings another perspective can be so beneficial. I tell people all the time, there are times I consult with other people as the executive director of Ndfd, because my perspective may be so narrow that I'm seeing only Ndfd, and I am not seeing anything else. So just talking, having a conversation with somebody else brings another perspective to you that you, oh gosh, is it magic? No, it's not magic. It's just that you are limited as a human being, and you are crowded sometimes by certain realities that you feel down, you feel depressed. And just a simple conversation with another person, it doesn't even have to be somebody who is, let's say, more quote unquote educated than you, but somebody with more experience, someone who is just from a different environment, who you can just have a good conversation with, and it refreshes you. It takes the depression off you, and you look at things from a new perspective, a different angle that gives you ideas, that gives you the drive that, look, I'm going to go for it, and I have the help. And we should not be afraid and ashamed at any time to engage others. It's just part of our growth, seek help.
Actually, Mr. J, what you just said there remind me of one, quotes, and it's saying that, don't be afraid if you are moving slow, but be afraid if you are standing still.
Yeah.
So it's very important for our small business owners to make a move, don't just stay in that corner, basically complaining or crying or stressing, so to speak, about this pandemic.
It also refers to quickly the point that Mrs. Seja made earlier, that there's no growth in your comfort zone, So I mean, it ties on how you look at it. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Challenger, I was seeing you there, reacting while Mr. J was, expounding on that idea.
Yeah, because a lot of the points that he made and Mrs. Seja made is very critical to note, because one of my main things is that the business owners need to make up their mind and what exactly they want to do. If they want to move forward and then they want to develop their business, or if they want to shut down, they have to make up their mind. I mean, a lot of business owners have other debts besides Ndfd, including their other expenses, rent, etc., schools, children, etc. But they need to make up their mind and think of and go, like Mr. Josie said, speak to someone. Like Ms. Rumin said, or Mrs. Seja said, come to Ndfd. I think we have ideas and ways, and for persons to maneuver this crisis. A lot of business have been affected. We're talking about basically all sectors. We're talking about agriculture, fishing, talking about distributive trade, service, etc. So the business owners need to make up their mind. What can we do? Let me sit down with an officer at the Ndfd and, hear their points of view. Come up with a business plan. Come up with something that will,
just do something,
jumpstart. And I would also say it's time to restart. A term I will know. It's time to restart. The like Mr. Joseph said, they ask for stones, stones and water, you give them stones and water. But they ask for stones and water, you give them stones and water instead of bakes. Do something else. We need to do something else. So we need to come out of that zone. Yeah.
So you have to be attuned, and you have to be always listening to the market,
Of course.
So I think Miss Casey is ready now to give us a few points if you still want to add to what they have already said. So what can a small business owner really do? Because you mentioned about, okay, you have to look at your budgets. You still not hearing me? Okay. So we will go back to Miss Casey. So we spoke about all of this, things that a business owner can do during these, uncertain times, right? Because we are running out of time a little bit. So let me just go to our next question, right? So we spoke about challenges, right? And then we spoke about the ways that we could address these challenges and come out, stronger, wiser, even better, right? But as we slowly, go through this pandemic, and hopefully, and I would like to remain optimistic that we are going to see, you know, the end of this pandemic, right? But for you guys, you know, you've been working with the business, the small business sector for so many years now. What for you is the greatest learning or lesson that a small business person should take out of this pandemic, and how should this learning be applied into the business model or applied into the further development of their business? Let's start with Mrs. Seja.
All right. So for me, that would be never get comfortable. You never know what's ahead. So always aim to grow and develop relative to the environment that we live in. We're in the 21st century, and it has proven to be a very technological era. So businesses should ensure that their plans and visions include goals to remain relevant in these times, because we never know what's going to happen next. So if it is that these pandemics can come and these natural disasters, they're inevitable, they will happen, right? So we need to start to plan ahead of these things. We don't know in what shape and what form they will come differently, but there's what you refer to as risk mitigation, right? So you look at what possible adverse effect or adverse activity that can affect your business, and you already have some type of plan as to how you can limit the adverse effects on your ability to remain in operations and sustainable. So I think, to me, it's don't get comfortable and always look to push yourself further, remain relevant in these times that we live in.
Interesting. What about you, Mr. Challenger?
Yes, I just realized I was muted. Just to expound on what Mrs. Seja said is that we need to have a plan.
So that for you is the greatest learning as well.
Yes,
That's
yes,
okay.
yes, yeah. But you see, but the main points are business cannot go on as normal or as before. Persons need to change the way they operate their businesses and so on. I mean, the large gathering might never come back or might never come back now. We need to strategize other things that we can do to avoid the large gathering. For example, maybe the farmers could maybe package some of their goods and deliver it or sell it packaged so the customer could just pick it up. We need to think of different things in order to be sustainable. And one of the plans that I was thinking of that persons maybe need to get is a business continuity plan. They might need to get a business continuity plan. Business continuity plan wouldn't only cover them if there's a pandemic, but if there's a hurricane, we in a volcanic island, if there is a volcano eruption, what would happen? We need to put a plan in place. What if X, Y, Z happens? What are we going to do? So we're going to wait for another pandemic to see what we're going to do. We should have something written in point form, so whether it's stuck in the business or it's stuck on your phone or whatever it is, that we have something to work with in case these things happen. We need to have that in place. I mean, I think Ndfd might have a continuity plan somewhere along line around. But the small business company need to get that because
and of course,
yes, another pandemic might come, another Mario might come. We don't know.
And of course, for example, if the small business owner say is not confident that they can do that, I'm sure Mrs. Seja and her team can help.
We can produce here. We can produce this here.
We have an entire team here, so definitely you're included. Mr. Joseph is included. Miss Casey, Mr. Challenger. We're all here to help, so definitely.
Okay, I want to go back to Miss Casey. If Miss Casey is already okay, you can already hear me.
Yeah.
Okay, so Miss Casey, for you, what is the greatest learning that a small business person should realize because of this pandemic? As he or she moves forward from this.
First of all, they should not rush any decision, but make plans. So give yourself time to decide on a new way to earn more income, rather than make rash decisions that will further impact your business. Okay, They should also try to figure out how their customer needs have changed. Now, this COVID pandemic has been a shock to us, to the whole world. Our lives are different than they were 2 months ago, and they probably will be 6 months ago down the line again, different again. It will never be the same, okay? So the first thing to consider is that people are now building new habits right now. So you have to reach out to them, learn their lives, how their lives have changed, and figure out what is the most exciting thing that you can offer your customers once they can leave their home to come to your businesses. Ask them what they are looking forward to and how you can help them to make their day, okay? In terms of the business, they should keep their best employees loyal, okay? Your workers are the most valuable asset that you have. If you lose your best one during the crisis, rebuilding, is going to be difficult. However, you should cut labor costs. If you cut costs drastically during the crisis, try to maintain your ability to rehire your best workers when the world opens back for business again. Okay, so the key here is to focus on long-term and to be human.
Long-term and to be human. Very deep. That's very deep from Ms. Casey, but it's very relevant.
If I could just add to what she says, is that this is sort of like we as business owners have to move with the time. You know, for example, in a farmer's point of view, or an example for the farmers would be that ginger is one of the main used item right now. You know that if you are planting other crops, then maybe you should go into the cultivation of ginger because the COVID might be here for a long run. And what's up? They say the local bush, the local thing that persons may use to deal with the pandemic. We're talking about COVID-19 would be ginger. So maybe we need to cultivate some ginger as well to sell on the market. Yeah?
Very good. I'm just thinking about, for example, the fisher folks, Mr. Challenger. You know, for example, I know a lot of people probably are already having second thoughts of being outside always, or going out and going to save going to the supermarket. Maybe our fisher folks could consider expanding their business and having some kind of delivery service, so to speak.
Yep.
So something that they can do, of course, right?
And I think maybe we discussed this maybe sometime last week or maybe the week before. And maybe the fisher folks need to get in something to add value to their daily fishing. And that value that we're speaking about, maybe, get some refrigerating system, a freezer, standing fridge or whatever, and package the fish and store it in your refrigerator, your freezers and so on. So then you call, you have contacts with your clients and so on. How many pounds you need, how much pounds of red fish, etc. that you need, and then you deliver it to the client, or you meet them at a point. You could meet them on the bus stop. If the person wants to come to the bus stop, you just meet them on the bus stop and you say, look, X amount of pounds of fish, and then you move.
Very good. Mr. J?
Yeah, I mean, great points preceding me. But if we look at like where Challenger was talking about ginger, and you also have turmeric, you also have garlic, and I want to just say all of that with one term, herbs. And what are the new cultivation techniques that we can have? And I want to go back to our green loans that we have available, or green products, that this can help you to change the techniques of cultivation, where we encourage aquaponics and hydroponics and those types of technologies. And that's where, again, this is a sexy kind of agriculture that some of our young persons can employ in the agriculture that they want to do. As a country, whether we want to go back to cultivating bananas to export to Europe is a question we need to ask ourselves. I don't think this is coming back. This is gone. We have to look at the new crops, high value short term, high value long term. We have to look at those. The high value new technologies, we have to look at them. And then we at Ndfd, we just had that Green Innovation Summit, and we saw some of those technologies being explored by some of our young persons, composting rather than those chemical fertilizers that are harmful to the environment, and utilizing our own raw materials, our own resources, raw materials. These are things that we can consider. How do we have upgraded greenhouses with temperature control and you know, air circulation and rainwater harvested to do the irrigation and fertigation and all of those types of things. And I say fertigation again, using the compost and compostees and all of that stuff that we have. And I must say that we do have some of those persons on island who are knowledgeable in this, but we should not be afraid to invest in our young persons and some of our experts who are ready and willing and able to do the experimentation on a local level. This is one of the areas that maybe we fall short as a country, where we do not invest sufficient into R&D. Research and development is important. A lot of discoveries, including electricity, including penicillin, which were all discovered by a freak accident, you know, a fate by fate that just happened. Somebody discovered something, and it has evolved into life-changing technologies. So it should, one component of the business plan is a business continuity plan, or business continuity and crisis management plan. And importantly, that this plan should be available to use when you need it. There was the story of a company or somebody who developed a beautiful business continuity plan, but it was stored somewhere in the office which got burnt down, and there was only one copy of what use was it to you at the time when you really needed it. So it has to be stored in a manner that is retrievable. Your employees and key employees need to have access to it that you can fall back on. But that is in the extent of real brutal disasters. But things like COVID, you can, yes, easily retrieve them. But it should, there are critical players in your business who should have access to it and know what it entails, and persons know what to do, you know, is thing. You have to be prepared for challenges, as I said, and be agile and be ready and willing to learn and change and adapt and adopt new technologies and practices. These are all important. And let me just say to our small business persons right now, it's not easy to operate a small business or any business whatsoever. You have to be agile. You have to be thinking on your feet. You have to be ready and prepared to make changes, to adapt to new situations, to adopt new technologies. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind. One of the other important areas that I think we have to remind small business persons that you need to try as much as possible to try to build some reserves, some cash reserves, that there are times when the need will come that you really need to use some cash reserves. And if you don't have it, you may have to okay, go to your financial institution and renegotiate a package that you have. It may take a little time, and time in that regard is important. It's crucial, it's critical that you need. So if you have some stashed away, you know, you may be able to make use of it in the meantime, in the immediate term, while you negotiate medium and long term. So these are critically important, and to review your business plan periodically and see what changes have happened. How are you keeping to that? Should that even be, is that even a relevant model right now, that in those circumstances? So what if we talk about fishers? I see, like where I live right now is like every day I hear a shell pass, boo boo boo. I'm not a fan of that, essentially. I believe there have been structures put in place through cooperatives and fisherfolk organizations where they would have some joint storage facilities. As to how well that developed, it may be the fishers themselves were their own enemies to the development of that. But right now, when you come in with 2,000 pounds of fish, you don't have to go spend the next day trying to sell it. If fishing is your business, if you want to go into distribution as a separate venture, that you come, you store your fish, and it can be distributed by your wife, your children, or a partner, or some other business partner. To do that, that's a separate entity other than going out fishing. And if you want to specialize in fishing, go catch fish and let the others arm of your business handle the distribution, the storage, the icing, the distribution, making contact with your partners. So we have to most likely adopt the new, more sensible aspects of business in operate, because trying to be all on your own, the chef, how you call it, chef, chief cook and bottle washer, and you still want to even eat the food after you cook it, it may not necessarily work for you as an individual. You look at multinational companies who get into that, a variety of branded products, but they do have the capabilities and the capacities to do that, to execute those things. But as a small enterprise, where is your competitive and your comparative advantage? Is it in going out and catching plenty fish, or is it in distributing fish, or do you have it in both? And what do you need to do to ensure that you can do the both of them to the best of your ability? Because sometimes if you try to be something to everybody, you will end up being nothing to nobody, and that's critical. So as small business persons, my advice would be to think critically of your business, think critically of your model, and try to figure out which one it is that you can do now. What is the short-term plan, and what's the medium and long-term plan for your business? These are important questions that you have to ask. And how do you finance these ventures are also just as important. So it's not at all easy, and the circumstances in which we live make it even more difficult. But can we overcome these? I'm sure we can. And again, if we have national conversations and policies and regulations that allow those things, it's critical. How one of the other areas that I think is, let's look at a crisis now. And a small business person told me just a couple of days ago that, look, I am $20,000 in debt for my rent, and I'm not sure I'm going to get back in because the landlord is asking me for their money. And how do we treat that? And on a national level, how does an NDFD treat that client who has, let's say, $50,000 loan owing to NDFD? They cannot go to their business place because or they're limited in going there, or they have ideas about going there, or the landlord said, look, you cannot come there again. So this is a business that is out. The person is in debt. NDFD has an uncollectible out there. And how do we treat it as an institution? Maybe that person leaves and goes, and some of us Dominicans, we like to go, but sometimes they don't have a choice because they try to look for a greener pasture. As to whether it's greener out there, I don't know. But we have to be able to deal with that at a level. And do we allow, and how much can NDFD take in terms of allowing $50,000 loans to be not paid for a period of, let's say, 6 months? So that is significant revenue that you think. So how does that allow, or what regulations that we have to, let's say, allow NDFD and the client to restructure their finances? And these are important questions that we have to ask ourselves. And we don't have adequate, some people call it bankruptcy laws. I don't like that term, but laws that can allow you to go into some form of reorganization, receivership, that will not affect you negatively in the long to medium term. Because do you know that if, as a small business person, that you have declared bankruptcy, and this is a legal process, that once you declare bankruptcy, it's a legal process that you go, the court declares you bankrupt, that you cannot serve in certain capacities, not even at your local credit union, you would be able to serve on the board of directors, not even in some public institutions, you would be able to take on a job or a particular position because you have declared bankruptcy because you operated a business that failed. This is very archaic to my mind, and we need as a country to really look at that and decide where do we go from that. Is that a law that we keep on our books? And how do we make it more enabling for persons and encourage entrepreneurs and small business proprietors to take the risks that they have to take to operate their businesses? So that's essentially is my take on that.
Very good, Mr. J. Thank you very much for that. And this is such a very, from where I sit, is very intense, but at the same time, very informative. And I really hope that this discussion is, really giving our small business owners really good insights that they could use during this pandemic. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have a lot more questions here, but it's unfortunate that we don't have, no more, we have no more time. So maybe I just would like to ask each and every one of you, maybe just in a few words, one sentence, if you could give your, say, I don't want to call it last words, maybe parting words. So if you could just look into your camera and imagine that the small business owner is right there, watching you. I would like you to tell them, what you want to tell them now. So in a few words, what would you like to tell them? Let's start with Mr. Challenger.
To be frank with my clients, and I tell them business is not done. There's a saying that is never over until the fat lady sings. And NDFD is not the fat lady. So NDFD is here to help the small businesses. And so anybody that having difficulties, give us a call. Our number, our website is available. Come see us. We are here for you.
All right. Miss Casey, the small business owner is right there in front of you, right? What would you tell that small business person that's right there in front of you?
Business is a risk, but it's your risk. Do not give up. And we at the NDFD, we are family. We are here to help you. No matter how big you are or small you are, you can come to us.
Mrs. Seja?
All right, so I'd like to say is our heart goes out to you all. We understand your difficulties. We relate to you all on a different level that no other financial institution has ever done and will continue doing so. So we just want to encourage you all to keep moving on. Keep seeing that light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, these hard times have happened time and time again in history, and we've always bounced back. So there is a bouncing back coming forward. So just press on to that mark.
So before
and we are here for you as well.
So before I go to Mr. J, right? I also would like to, tell our business owners that we have, we are cooking a few things for them, and we hope that this thing that we are trying to develop, we hope to launch this very soon. Or all of these things that we're trying to concoct for them would be able to help them, maybe even in small ways as we go through this pandemic. Mr. J, the small business owner is right there in your big office in front of you. What would you like to tell the person?
One, NDFD is structured to be able to help you. We have this wonderful suite of business ops officers. We have the products, the services to help you evaluate and assess and analyze your business, the model and everything else. And it starts way down, and then if it means you have to see me about it, then that's fine. You are welcome. So we are here for you and with you during this challenging time. Don't be despondent, and let's talk. Let us discuss your situation and let us see how best we can get out of it. There will be, COVID is not the first, neither will it be the last challenge that you go through. And I want to encourage you. It's commendable of the small business persons to take that risk and make that investment. I just want you to bear in mind that you have to be agile, as I said earlier, and you have to be flexible, and you have to be cognizant of the environment and keep your eyes open for the opportunities that lie within what seems to be an unsurmountable task ahead. But certainly together we can ride through that storm. And I don't like to just survive. I like to prosper. I want to wish everybody all the best. And I look forward to hearing from many of you small business owners that we can discuss a way forward out of this rut that we currently are.
There you go. So to all those who are watching this, once again, we would like to say, first and foremost, we have to tell you to stay strong. I know some of you, might say it's easier said than done, but I think first thing that you need to do is to stay strong and, realize that you can seek help. We are here, as we say here, we there for you, viewers. we would like to give our heartfelt thanks to our Business and Entrepreneurial Development Officers, Mrs. Seja, Mr. Challenger, Ms. Casey, and of course, we would like to thank our Executive Director, Cletus Joseph, for for all your insights, for all your pieces of advice, and basically for your concern and care for our small business owners. And on behalf of our board of directors, on behalf of our the rest of the staff, and of course our technical here with us, Mr. Carl Libla, and of course our overall coordinator, Ms. Anasha Laron. They're not seen, but they're behind the scenes helping us with this. I, Mr. Donald Burcasio, the Business and Entrepreneurial Development Manager, would like to say, stay safe and, just keep on pushing. Realize that there's help and we there for you. And see you soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.